remember, if you guys like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. You guys sit back and enjoy. Thanks a lot.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
For those of you who are just tuning in and watching with us right now, we have Director of Professional Development for NAMM, Mr. Zach Phillips, singer-songwriter extraordinaire. He's done some awesome stuff, and we're here today to talk with him about a plethora of subjects. We're going to find out what makes the masterpiece that is Zach Phillips, when he got into music, how these things came to pass, and you know, just all around, just trying to dive in a little bit and figure out what makes this guy tick. So,
Thomas, I've known you now for a couple of years, and you are one of the most quotable people. You're a good writer. You have like good ideas.
Oh, thank
you.
You
are quotable.
Quotable. Uh-oh.
Well, masterpiece, I'm not so sure about, but it sounded very cool. Thank you.
It sounded cool, dude. You know, the thing is, like, being quotable can come back to bite you in the ass sometimes. So you never know. You know, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, well, I remember when you said this. And it's like, oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Crap.
Well, in this case, we'll say it would make you famous, not infamous. How's that?
Well, there you go. Let's hope that's the case. So let's see, man. Tell me about the beginning, man. Where did you grow up? Where did you spend your childhood, and how did you get into playing music?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Grew up in New Jersey. I was an AT&T transfer kid. My dad worked for AT&T, got transferred there right before I was born. Lived in central New Jersey till I was 10, moved to Chicago, where I pretty much stayed and lived until I was in my mid-30s, and moved out to Southern California for work. Music was not particularly big in my house. My dad had a couple records. My portal to music was my older brother, my one and only brother, who's 3.5 years and 4 grades ahead of me. He was the guy who started taping songs off the radio on his boombox, and sort of unveiled the mysticism that is music to me at a reasonably young age. You know, from there, like anybody, it's same story. I played, you know, in school bands, sang in choir, but wanted to play electric guitar and be Slash. So
Slash was the guy you looked up to?
Musically.
Yeah. Morally.
He had cool hair too.
Musically.
He had cool hair. He seems like a great guy. We got, you know, he received the Tech Award a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember
from the Tech Foundation. Great artist. So absolutely. I mean, and you and I I'm a few years older than you, but we grew up kind of in the hard rock era. So it was a beautiful time for guitarists. When I really dug into like Zeppelin, and then soon after U2 at about 12, 13 years old, that's when the songwriting bug hit me. So I became kind of a singer-songwriter at that point, went to school wanted to teach history. Always had an interest in history. Then beginning of junior year, went to Loyola University, Chicago, wrote for the school newspaper, discovered journalism, went to work for our buddy Frank Alkire and Kevin Maher. Yeah.
When's the last time you talked to Frank?
6 days ago, 7 days ago.
How's he doing?
He's doing well. Yeah, great guy. And Frank. Kevin Maher as well. Kevin Maher is the president of that organization. Both just wonderful, wonderful people. They took me in when I was a young man and gave me an opportunity. And from there, you know, I was at that job. I had different editorial positions at that job, in Industry Trade Magazine, Music Inc. And we also published Upbeat Daily and Downbeat magazines until I joined NAMM in late 2012. So it's actually a pretty simple career trajectory, but I got into it because I was, a hack guitarist and singer-songwriter since I was young. And, we all wear a lot of different hats in this industry, but, my work supporting and serving on behalf of the music products industry is really my reason for being. That's, it doesn't leave a lot of time and energy for music, but I do try to pick up a guitar even for 5-10 minutes a day and see if I have any ideas, and certainly
that's awesome
on the
that
weekends.
that you still do that. I mean, you find the time for that. Because I remember
I make time for it.
You should.
Yeah.
I mean, always. Because like I told someone else, I think it was Joel that I told this to. No matter what else we get involved in or anything like that, we are in this because of a common passion for music.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
And most of the people that I meet that are involved in the music industry are musicians themselves. I mean, or a lot of them are anyways, and not all of them clearly, but but still, it's great that you always make the time for that. But I do remember though when I first met you, because you were procrastinating about an album back then, and you kept going, I know, I need to do that, and I was like, well then why don't you do it? Oh yeah, I'm going to get around to that. And then when I saw that you, which we'll get to in a little while, but when I saw that you were actually going to put your album out, I was like, awesome. That's why I texted you. I said, I got to get a copy of that. But I got to ask before we get into all that though, which part of Jersey did you grow up in?
Central New Jersey, Hillsborough, Belle Meade, not far from Princeton, actually, just by chance. Reasonably close to where my father worked. Now, I don't remember any of this. I mean, we moved when I was 10. I remember it well, but people would say, well, we're next to Town Line Road, and I don't remember. You don't know your geography until you start to drive. But it was funny enough, back then, my mom had mentioned you were kind of a country kid.
Absolutely.
Because the suburb we were in was out in the middle of cornfields, and it was a suburb. But I know even behind our house, there was this enormous field that eventually led to a playground and then the elementary school I attended. So it's funny, it's something I took for granted. She mentioned that when we moved to Chicago, I didn't know how to use a street light. I almost walked into the street. Luckily she was there to, my little 10-year-old me, she, I was probably taller than her at the time, but she kind of grabbed me before I walked into my, to my ruin in the middle of an intersection. But yeah, so Central Jersey.
What do you see? Because I have both some amazing and some horrible memories of New Jersey. There's the first time I ever went to, the first time I left Savannah to go venture out. Some people would go a few hours away, not me. First place I went to was New York City, but I couldn't.
Hey, when in Rome, visit Rome.
That's the way I saw it. But the thing was, I couldn't afford to live in New York City. So the only place I could afford was Newark. And no, I will never.
It's not New York, although I hear it's up and coming, actually.
It is up and coming. But when I was
Jersey City too, yeah.
When I was there, bro, you could not have convinced me that there was a worse place. I mean, I would have slept naked on the streets of the 8 Mile in Detroit before I would have went back to Newark, New Jersey. And that is no joke. I had the worst experience ever there. But the places that
that was another quotable line, Thomas. Sorry to interrupt. There was another one of your quotable lines.
Oh, see there, but
it's the performing, it's the gigging, it's the banter that you develop with the audience. You can just knock these things off. That's impressive.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, see, the thing is about being in Savannah, you guys would not look at me the same if you saw me play in Savannah, because it's my hometown, and I'm a real smart ass on the microphone. People will literally come to my gigs to get roasted, and like literally I've had them sitting in the crowd before going, oh my god, here do me, and I'm like, oh Lord, so I'm just like, what's so great about you? I don't speak Walmart. I mean, I throw out the worst things that you've ever heard on these people, and they just think it's so funny. But I can only do that in Savannah, because if I ever did that at, say, a Hard Rock Cafe or a NAMM show or something, you guys would never have me back. Because
well, it's funny. I saw one of my all-time favorite guitarist and singer-songwriter is Richard Thompson. I saw him do this gig. Actually, it was when I lived in Chicago at one of the local community colleges. It was incredible. And he's very British and has this dry wit. But I remember thinking, this guy, if he obviously is one of the greatest guitarists and singer-songwriters who ever lived, lead guitarist. But I remember thinking, like, after this gig, he could have had a career as a stand-up comedian. Just this hilarious, dry British wit. So I kind of like gigs like that, where you get somebody who's like a double threat, you know? It's like for rock guys like us, it's almost our version of like a pop person in pop who can like dance and sing. You know, we can do stand up and gig.
Well, let's just say this. I mean, it's a miracle that I haven't been beat up more times than I have. I mean, you know, because some of the things I've said were just so like, wow. I mean, like, and then some of them I look back on and I'm like, man, I couldn't even face my mother after saying something like that. You know, it was just like terrible. But you know, I know someone who would probably relate to that is old Alan Friedman, which, you know, Alan,
great man.
See, Alan's one of those guys who has the charm enough to say pretty much whatever he wants. If I were to say it, I'd be in the evening news and probably, you know, going to jail or something like that. But Alan can get away with saying stuff. And to me, it's absolutely funny, you know, and I wish I had that outside of my hometown. But Alan, I swear to God, he can go anywhere, say any damn thing he wants. It's just the funniest thing in the world, man. But
and for people who don't know him, Alan Friedman, music industry accountant of all things, right, and a great guitar player, and truly one of the reasons I think he can get away with it, Thomas, is he is truly one of the loveliest human beings I've ever met. I mean,
he's got the charm, he's got the personality, everything that goes right there to make that total package. And, you know, but that also gives him the ability to just crack some of the most hilarious jokes that I personally would never get away with. I mean,
and we've all been, you know, the punchline of those.
Well,
I'll speak for myself more times than I can count. I've got texts on my phone that I would not show my mom.
Oh, no way.
I wouldn't show my wife coming from him.
No way, man. I tell you, it's
I laughed though.
Oh my God,
they're
hilarious.
He's like Paul. It's in Hard Day's Night. Paul McCartney, the guy who plays Paul McCartney's grandfather, and Paul's like, watch out for him. He's a mixer. He mixes. He gets people against each other. He's a mixer. So that reminds me of.
It was so funny, you know, but he just come right in on it, you know, but
Alan, by the way, he speaks to, since we're talking about the industry, one of the things I find fascinating about somebody like Alan Friedman, Thomas, is that, you know, he speaks to kind of the character of our industry. Alan's a very
big time.
He's incredibly talented. I mean, he's one of he's a financial thought leader. He's a thought leader in our industry. I mean, he's done more to teach people how to run successful businesses than just about anybody. He also happens to be an incredible guitarist, you know, incredibly successful businessman and professional, and of course, a wonderful, lovely human being. But he sort of he has all these kind of, all together, it makes for kind of an idiosyncratic, unique personality.
Zach, hold on a second, brother.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on here? What hang on. Oh my God. Look at this right here. You will not believe what's going on. Oh my God. Hold on, Zach. We've got other stuff. What the hell is going on here?
Hey.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Cheers.
Look at
wow.
Cheers, fellas.
Yeah. Young, I knew he was going to be hanging out with you, so I had to do some brown liquor, bro.
Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on.
Easy one,
everybody.
Alan.
Hey. Hold on. Check this out. You guys aren't going to believe this.
Uh-oh.
Bam!
It isn't so.
It is so.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Grab a glass of wine.
Guys, hold on a second. Hold on. You're not going to believe this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's
Hold
It's gotta
on,
be.
hold on.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Look at this.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I
my
can't
goodness.
believe it. Oh, guys, this is crazy. Hold
The
on.
funniest CPA in the
Hold
world.
on, Ron.
We have,
Hold on.
we have Zach's second grade math.
Yes!
teacher.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Jonathan Mover is
Oh,
in the house.
man.
Do not make me laugh.
Thomas, you are the Pied Piper. You are that is epic folk songs will be written about you. That was amazing.
So back to you. I know. Let's see. So you grew up in Jersey, then you spent after 10 years old, you were in Chicago, which we're going to give a big shout out to our friend Dave Davis.
Oh, one of my dear friends. It's been way too long since I've seen him. What a dear human being, though. What a genuine great guy.
So you were in Chicago from the time you were just barely a teenager,
Yeah.
before you were a teenager, all the way until you left to go to San Diego, correct?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I lived in a bunch of different places in and around Chicago, but
Sure.
yeah. Yep.
And,
Yes, sir.
How did you wind up meeting Dave?
Met Dave through a mutual friend, one of my best friends. I think we were at Starbucks. He said, "We got to go over to this friend of mine. We got to go over to her house tonight. She's got all these people over. I want you to meet." And he and I started talking music, and the rest was history. So yeah, I need to reach out to him.
What a guy to
It's a
talk
good
music
reminder.
with too, man. Because Dave knows stuff that I didn't even know existed. I mean, it's like, wow, he
He knows
just
a lot about prog rock too. He has a really good knowledge of prog rock and a lot of ambient music too.
well, see, prog rock. That's like my cup of tea, man. Prog rock was a whole other language, that I spoke, and I just love it.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it until the wee hours at the Hilton, actually, in Nashville. The wee hours. It felt like the wee hours is probably 11 o'clock at night or
Are you
something.
talking about the summer where we pissed off the Uber driver? Do you remember that?
Your best quote.
I was like, really, how angry can an Uber driver get? I mean,
Here's the problem, Thomas. It's like you look at Chicago, major metropolitan area, but I still have that Midwest politeness. And I saw the Uber driver he was getting frustrated with us, and maybe I'm like a people pleaser.
No.
I just wanted to get out of his car. Alan's cracking jokes.
I was about to say, I don't think he was frustrated with us. I think he was frustrated with Alan because we were all doing good. He was even keel, no problem, and then Alan got
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the end of it.
Whatever Alan was saying was funny, but again, sometimes context is everything. You need to know the person. So
It was so funny, man. I was cracking up. I couldn't believe it. I had never seen an Uber driver get pissed off with a more professional group of people. It was, I mean, usually they're pissed off when you're drunk and you're spilling stuff all over their cars. And here we are. We're out there hanging at the largest music merchants convention in the world, and people pissing off Uber drivers.
No, we were a bunch of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, no doubt. It was.
I love it. So you moved to San Diego later on. I mean, you started. How long ago did you start working with NAMM? What year was that?
I started. I remember this. It was November 1st, 2012.
Oh wow!
So it was a little over 8 years ago. Yeah,
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, man. So, but let's see. So clearly you were into music at an early age. You stuck with it all throughout your life. But one thing I didn't ask you earlier about that was, who's the favorites, man? What artist inspired Zach Phillips?
I worship at the altar in the church of Bob Dylan.
Dylan.
I think Bob Dylan is the Shakespeare of our generation. Bono had some quote. He's my Picasso. I've never listened to music the same way after I first heard Blonde on Blonde and Highway 61 Revisited and Bringing It All Back Home and his great 60s trilogy. That being said, it's like I look at that and I have a heavy love, not so much prog rock. I know prog rock, but I love art rock too. I mean, a big Brian Eno fan. I kind of joke that I'll listen to, Emmylou Harrison, Lucinda Williams, and John Prine side by side with a Kate Bush album. So, like you probably, I mean, a child of hard rock. We were talking about this earlier, Led Zeppelin, love big music, U2 and so forth. And of course, a little classical and a little jazz. So, but Dylan, and of course the Beatles and the Stones, Joni Mitchell, Lucinda Williams, Van Morrison. There's some incredible bands of the last 20 years. Wilco.
All right, well, hold on. You got to, if you had to choose, who are you going with, Beatles or Stones?
You joke. This is something I think about a lot. This is when this
Am I joking?
You're not kidding. Men joke. Music aficionados don't joke about this. Here's what I'll say. In my opinion, the greatest band of all time was the Beatles. The greatest rock band of all time was the Rolling Stones.
That's a unique.
There's a difference.
Didn't we have this discussion also at NAMM, Summer NAMM one year?
Probably. I've given this a lot of thought, Thomas.
I think it was you and I and Dean Daniels, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I think we were all sitting there in the lobby having the same discussion, because I've always been a big Beatles fan. I mean, I love the Stones. I put the Stones in the top 5 of all time, but me personally, they didn't resonate with me like certain bands did. I was really big into the Beatles. I was big into Pink Floyd. I love Pink Floyd.
Yeah, me too.
Rush did it for me. Queen did it for me. And a person you probably wouldn't think that I would go to next would be Prince.
I love Prince.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, just incredible music. But John Lennon to me was how you're describing Bob Dylan to you.
Yeah.
Like John Lennon to me was just a whole different type of, next level songwriter.
Oh, look, Thomas, it's like I didn't get into Dylan until late in life. I was 19 or 20 years old when I first heard Blonde on Blonde. But, freshman year in college, it's like in my dorm room when I'm young and filled with angst, I'm listening to John Lennon Plastic Ono Band every day. That is to me one of the bravest albums any human being, one of the bravest pieces of art any human being has ever made. I mean, I'm not only a Beatles freak, but the Beatles break up. They are the biggest band in the world. He is at the zenith of his fame. And he makes an album based on his primal scream therapy as he's working through issues of his childhood, turning 30, with a new wife people don't approve of. It's like, this is an incredibly ambitious artistic move. It predated grunge and punk music. It predated grunge by 21 years.
The Beatles get credited as the beginning of heavy metal, technically, with Helter Skelter.
I listened to Helter Skelter yesterday, and it's still what Paul McCartney said it was. I mean, it is still the loudest, sweatiest, dirtiest song ever. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Here's some useless Thomas Claxton trivia for you. I'll never win you anything at a trivia contest, I promise. But but the first song I ever played on a stage that I got paid to play on, and this was in I believe 2001. But the first song I ever played was "Watching the Wheels" by John Lennon.
Cool, good choice.
That was the first one that came to me, and
good choice.
Stuff like that, like I could just feel that guy's pain in a lot of his music, especially with his song. He wrote that song "Mother,"
Plastic Ono Band again.
Right.
One of the greatest albums of all time.
"Mother, you had me, but I never had you." Wow. I mean, that hurt. I mean,
and the Beatles had just broken up. This is what people don't understand the context of that. I mean, we didn't live through it. We weren't born, but the Beatles had just broken up, and he releases that album, and he says, I mean, you'd think you could go to jail for saying those kinds of, having that level of psychoanalysis in your popular music. It's unbelievable, stunning.
That's something that I think is kind of missing today with songwriters. You know, back then, especially what seemed like came out of cultural movements and things like that. You know, you would find stuff that got written that you would never ever hear written today. I mean, like, well, let's go with John Lennon. He had a very controversial song, and I don't think I probably need to tell you the entire name of it.
Yep.
But "Woman is of the World."
Yeah. Yep.
And I
of
mean,
course. Somewhere in New York City. Yep.
Right. Now the thing is, that song in particular, if you didn't know what it was about, you know what I mean? You would probably think a lot, wow, you know, that guy's stupid. But if you read those lyrics, I mean, you kind of get where he's coming from, whether you agree or disagree, didn't matter. I mean, it's just, but you understood, you know, more about it because of John Lennon's style of writing. I mean, he didn't give a crap what he
he went right for the jugular, and an angry songwriter, but it was necessary anger. It was existential anger. You know, it's anger that's earned. It's like, you know, that's an angry song.
It's an angry song, but I miss that ability where people. This is what bothers me, and I'm not. Again, this is not a political statement, so don't take it that way. But it bothers me that today people are too scared to speak their minds. They're worried that they're going to piss somebody off. They're going to get canceled. Something bad is going to happen to them. You know, I can't say what I'm thinking anymore. And to me, that is way more dangerous than any other thing that could be happening, because when you're too scared to be a free thinker, you know, the thing is, even if what you're about to say gets you in trouble, well, that's supposed to be a learning experience. You know,
it's interesting.
I mean, well, the thing is like certain people don't need to be out there. And a lot of the times what I mean is out there as far as like in the public eye, you know, so let them say it. That way we can figure out who those people are that we need to turn off. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of my way of looking at it. I don't think that art itself should be suppressed, but I also am not one of those people who thinks that art's in the eye of the beholder either. I mean, I've never agreed with that 100%, because I get the sentiment that I think people are coming from with that, but like literally some people take that like for fact, like there's like verbatim, art's in the eye of the beholder. So I'm like, okay, so a dog could drop a turd on the sidewalk, and I could shape it into a turd snowman, and you're telling me if I interpret it as art, that's art. And some people will be like, yes. And I'm like, no, that's
it could look like a Jackson Pollock painting, though. You never know.
Right. But you know, I mean, I don't know, man. That does concern me a little bit. That I'm not saying this is where it's going, but I could definitely see it going in this direction, possibly, where people are too scared to write about certain things. You know, and the thing is, and that really bothers me, man, because like if you look at the music that come out of the movements, the civil rights movements and things like that in the 50s, 60s, and all those types of eras, the music that come out of those time periods was not just something that you listened to because it sounded good and made you do this with your head. It wasn't like that. You felt those songs. You felt the pain in those people's lyrics. You felt the pain and the progressions that they were playing on their instruments. All this kind of stuff, or you felt the happiness, you felt the joy, whatever that song was supposed to interpret, you could actually feel it on an emotional level. Today, I'm not finding much music that I'm feeling on a you know, get my skin, you know, kind of.
Oh, I could make you a playlist. There's great music out there. You know what's different though? I mean, there are bands that like. I'm
strictly talking mainstream stuff.
You might have to dig a little bit more to find music that's
what I mean. I know it's out there. Yeah. I know it's out there today, but you have to dig for it today. Whereas back then, all you had to do was turn on the radio. I mean,
there's you're right. And you look at the charts, even from the 70s, and there was a lot of pretty incredible art on there. Of course, this is, I'll say, it just for me, it's, yes, I'm being subjective when I say it's incredible, but nowadays, yeah, I admit that I don't listen to as much of what's on the charts. I dig a little more. But here's the thing, like listening to the new Jeff Tweedy album, right? And there's a song on here that I close my eyes and I feel as if I'm hearing a great lost track from like American Beauty or Working Man's Dead, some classic Grateful Dead track. But that album's also probably not in the top 10 right now. And of course, or even probably not in the Spotify top 10 either. So I could see that. I can see that. There's this one idea too, Thomas, and I'm just waxing philosophical here. I don't know, but there's one music industry critic and writer that I read a lot, and he sort of says that music is, of course, you and I know, I mean, it's one of the most powerful forces in the universe. But he sort of argues that people aren't using it as much as a source of social change. And certainly there are artists doing it, but I almost feel like an audience isn't turning to it for that anymore. They're turning to blogs or they're turning to something else. Whereas in the late 60s, during the Vietnam War, people are turning to music. So it's like, I feel like it's being made, but the audience isn't going to it for that anymore. They're going somewhere else. Netflix shows or something.
But do you believe though that they wouldn't, or maybe what it is, dude, is that some of this stuff is just not grabbing them like it did back in the day? I don't know. Like I dig and I find good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm not hearing. How do I put this? I believe that, let's just say you took all of the old hits that you think back to that were just iconic, legendary songs.
Yeah.
If you moved them to 2021, you'd have to dig for them. And that's, to me, that's a shame. Stairway to Heaven, Us and Them, all these types of songs would not be radio friendly songs in 2021 if they were being written today. And
I can see that. Yeah.
Right. Bohemian Rhapsody. That. I mean, stuff like that. Look, dude, songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, you'd never get a song that was that long on a radio wave today without paying some astronomical amount of money that you would never hardly recoup unless it just became, something enormously successful. And, I just don't hear stuff like that anymore, man. There are certain songs that I can think of back in the day, and maybe it's because I grew up in it, or I didn't grow up in it. I found it later on. It clearly come in before my time, but I grew up listening to it, should I say. And that stuff literally gave me goosebumps. Like, I'm not finding stuff that is moving my soul anymore. Or I find it, but I gotta really look for it. I mean, and then when I find it, I'm not finding it as much. Music from back in the day, when I go listen to like Take the Long Way Home by Supertramp or something, I mean, and that harmonica comes in the very beginning of it, I'm like, wow. Stuff today just isn't grabbing me like that. And I'm not saying that that's the...
No, you're throwing out an interesting challenge, though. I'm thinking, and I'm like, maybe it just depends on genre. And again, I'm only talking about my own taste. I think about like Miranda Lambert, going back a few years, I would put her up against any major country artist. I would say she's a mind-blowingly great artist, but admittedly, in the top 10 on the country charts, she may have been the only person I was really listening to. Maybe, I don't know if Jason Isbell was on there or not, probably not, but I wish he was because he's incredible. But yeah, I could see that. It's more limited. Speaking only for my own taste, yeah, I could see that.
Well, the thing is, and I guess I am kind of genre picking here, because I'm kind of talking rock and roll, things like that, but still, I mean, that's why when Chris Stapleton came out, if we want to talk country for a second there, I mean,
good artist,
right? I was glad to hear that because it sounded like some of the old outlaw country from back in the day.
Yeah,
I get so sick of hearing like if we're going to talk country, I don't give a crap how sexy your tractor is. I really don't. I don't care. That does not interest me whatsoever. But then again, I'll go turn on some Merle Haggard or some Waylon Jennings or the Highwaymen, you know, good Lord, look at that group, you know, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, you know, Waylon,
amazing.
I mean, Johnny
Waylon,
Cash, holy crap, you know, I'll listen to stuff like that, and that stuff will move me. But, you know, then again, I turn on what's topping the country charts today, and I'm just like, sorry, I don't get it. I really don't. You know,
It's just kind of interesting. It's a different time.
it is a different time. You know, I don't know, man. You know, sometimes I think people want to say that a more technologically advanced society is naturally a smarter society. And I don't know if that's necessarily true all the time, because as certain technological advancements are made, there are other things that clearly take a hit. Like when I was a kid, you know, HTML coding was a thing. You know,
Yeah,
you
I
had to
remember.
know how to-
Yeah,
right, you had to know how to do that kind of stuff. Nowadays, you don't have to know how to do that kind of stuff anymore. You know, you just click this one button, and a company somewhere does it for you, you know, to where you don't have to mess with it. You know, but back in the day, you had to know these types of things. And I joke around a little bit sometimes, you know, that some of the kids these days are just blowing my mind.
I have a lot of the same thoughts, you know, that you're expressing. Sorry, one sec.
That's all right.
Can you see me now?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's an internet connection stable. I have a lot of the same thoughts that you were just expressing. The only thing I can't come to terms with is I don't know if it's just me aging, because the longer, you know, I'm around, I start to think, you know, oh yeah, no, I'm turning into my father. It's happened. It's full bore at this point. It's full bore at this point.
I don't believe it's aging, and I'll tell you why. One of my favorite quotes, and I know I'll get this a little bit wrong, so please don't hold me to the fire on accurate placement of words here, but one of my favorite quotes is, hard times create tough people. Tough people create good times. Good times create lazy people.
Yeah.
Lazy people create hard times. And then you repeat the cycle.
Wow, that's brilliant. I've never heard that.
Yeah, you know, but
That's
that is
beautiful.
so freaking true if you think
Yeah.
about it, because it's like, you know, everybody always says, well, you're just, you know, you're getting old and all that kind of crap, and you're just not keeping up with the times. Bullshit. I'm keeping up with the times just fine. You know,
Yeah, no, you keep up. You can hear it in the music, even some of the covers you do. You keep up.
Aside from all that, I mean, you know, it's like, see, our generation, and I don't know, you said you're a little bit older than me. I don't know exactly how old you are, but the bottom line is, you can keep it a secret. But the bottom line is, dude, I mean, I'm guessing we're not too far apart. But that generation, in my opinion, was the last generation to remember not having and going without, and the first generation to experience some of the amazing stuff as it was coming in, and we were still young enough to experience it. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have hell, dude, I had a Commodore 64 computer when I was a little kid. Okay, you know, there was, come on, that's going back. We didn't even have an air conditioner in the house until I was 15, and I grew up in Southeast Georgia with 100 weather. Well, the thing was,
That's hot.
Yeah, but you didn't know the difference.
Right.
We turned on fans and we raised the windows up, and every day was a good day, man. You just didn't know that it was hot. And I remember looking back on those days, and now technology down here has just kicked up, and the air conditioning systems are in every house and every store and all this kind of thing. And, you know, but also when I was a kid, dial-up internet came into play, and, you know, Windows 95 broke onto the scene, and then it went up to 98 and Windows XP, and it just evolved. And, you know, next thing you know, we have iPods and things like that when I was a kid, you know, and a teenager. And I was young enough to watch that stuff start integrating into the culture a little bit, you know, but it was strange sometimes though, because I remember not having these things, and sometimes I think, you know, it would be really cool to go back to that point, but then, you know, then the other part of me is like, oh man, I don't know if I could sleep in 100-degree weather anymore. You know?
We've been coddled now. Here's what's interesting though, Thomas. I will say this again, because I think about a lot of this stuff too. I was thinking about a lot of artists that I listen to now that I love, who are in their like 20s or early 30s, the kind of the next generation, or even late teens. And I'll say this, one thing that is interesting that I'm hearing with Gen Z artists and younger millennial artists, and certainly even most millennial artists, is because they grew up with this kind of endless aisle of music with Spotify, for instance, or even earlier than that, iTunes, they don't draw genre distinctions the same way we do. So, I mean, I'll even listen to like a band like Vampire Weekend, and I'm blown away. I'm getting a little Paul Simon. I'm getting a little Leonard Cohen. I'm getting a little Beatles psychedelia, a little Mellotron in there. I'm getting some, Soweto, a little hip hop, a little jam band. It's like, and I think they're probably on the older end of that. For the younger artists, I don't think they distinguish, and you get this wonderful blending of sometimes bizarre influences. So there's some interesting things happening out there. Is it totally in the mainstream? Maybe not, but just something I've noticed lately. I really envy that about that generation, and I think it's because they're on Spotify. They're listening to playlists.
The Wine of Youth. Now, this is why I wanted to ask you which artist made you tick, because the first song I heard off of Wine of Youth was the one that you were posting, which was Ladybird. And that song, to me, when I heard it, I was like, it's its own thing. It stands on its own, but I hear a Tom Petty influence in this. I could just hear it. It reminded me of the era of Tom Petty where he was doing stuff like Wildflowers.
Yeah. He's a great artist. I love roots rock. I mentioned
Petty was
Dylan,
definitely roots rock.
Dylan, especially that period. But all those artists. That's probably the style I am most influenced by. So, funny thing about that track is I also have this love of, and I don't know if I'll turn you on to some interesting stuff. Did you listen to any British folk rock? This is like the genre that Americans just don't listen to. Like I mentioned Richard Thompson and Fairport Convention. That track, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a Grateful Dead edge to it, but more than that, there's a little bit of a British folk rock edge, not only lyrically, but to the spirit of it. So it's not straight roots rock. So that's what I was going for on it. I don't know if that came through, but
it definitely did. It's got a nice blend of some of that British folk rock like you're talking. It's got also a great blend of that roots rock, man. I love it. The song just grabbed me right out the gate, because I love that style of music.
Thanks, Thomas. Thank you. It's nice of you to say.
No, absolutely. Well, dude, hell, look at what I do, man. I play acoustic guitar constantly, and just, it's just me up there with a raw guitar. And, honestly, with your permission, I'm probably going to wind up covering that song at some point, because I think it was a great tune.
I've arrived.
Yes. Hey, bro.
I'd be honored.
And I'll do it right after some Pink Floyd and some Supertramp, and, and then you'll be.
I would be honored.
Now I hope to God I don't butcher it too bad, but I'll do it what I consider to be some justice.
Probably an improvement to my vocal performance. So yeah, that'd be great.
Doubtful. So, what brought on the Wine of Youth? Because, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, when I first met you, you were talking about it, and I kept, I brought up to you myself a couple of times. I was like, dude, if you're writing, you want to do it. Do it. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to get around to that. And a couple of years went by, and you just, you were just kind of saying, every time I saw you, I'm going to get around to that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. One of these days, I'm going to do it. So what finally made you dive headfirst in, which I'm really glad you did, because again, I cannot stress to the listeners at home enough. If you have not, go check out Zach Phillips, The Wine of Youth, but tell us how it came to pass, and what really inspired you to get motivated and knock this thing out.
First, that's amazing. Thank you, Thomas. Seriously, that's from an artist like you. Thank you. It's wonderful. My wife, Gloria Taylor, recorded an album, released it on the summer solstice. I know she aimed it for that date of 2018, June 2018. Great folk pop album called Go for the Moon. Shameless plug for her.
Nothing wrong with
She
that.
worked with a gentleman by the name of, so check it out. We're talking new music. This is yet another gem. She worked with a gentleman, a San Diego producer, incredible arranger, guitarist, engineer, Greg Montanti, musical polymath, and a wonderful guy to boot. One of my favorite people. And one night, it was a Friday night, it was soon after Summer NAMM, actually. And again, I don't have much time for this. I'd love to have more time for it, but I don't. Soon after Summer NAMM, it was early that year, she was out at like yoga on a Friday night, and I sat down at the piano and I wrote most of The Wine of Youth, the title track. And it came very quickly, and I hadn't done a lot of writing since my late 20s. Just for whatever reason, I wasn't inspired to do it. And I immediately started thinking, what could Greg do with this song? I kind of pictured, I could see Greg doing something cool with a little bit of a string quartet on this. Next thing I knew, I'd written Ladybird and The Lonely Hunter and a number of other tracks that didn't make the album. And by early December, most of it was written. I was just on weekends. Again, my work is my reason for being. I don't have a lot of time for this. The reason the album came together and got made is probably because it came together quickly. Most of the songs were written in a 3-month period. Right after my birthday in March, I wrote Spirits Rising from the Lake, built a playlist with all the tracks, and finally they landed into place when I finished that track. And I called Greg and we started recording soon after. But one of the things I kind of like to brag about this, because I felt, even though it speaks more to the studio technology than any talent that I had, we recorded that album in 8 sessions. It was recorded in 8 sessions at Greg's studio. He did some overdubs with some drums, some bass, a little bit of the lead guitar he played on. We had another session for Bobby Cressy, the incredible organ and piano player on many of those tracks. Gloria did a session for some of her backup vocals, but it was essentially recorded in 8 sessions, 9 or 10 if you include them, and we had a pre-production meeting. So it came together very quickly for as elaborate as the arrangements are. That's what happened. It had no intention of doing this. I think I was excited by the prospect of knowing there was a collaborator out there who could do more with these songs than I would have been able to do with them. Now, I came to Greg with very deliberate ideas for the arrangements. The demos were pretty involved, but he put the icing on it. And in some cases, the cake more than that. So that was what happened. That's why the album got made. And he did a beautiful job with it.
Well, I like
that.
I mean, the thing is, you sound, again, you and I have a lot in common. Once we're not going to start something until we're prepared to finish it.
Yeah.
And that's me, like 100%. Like I won't even jump on any kind of bandwagon unless I know that once I start this, I'm going to knock this thing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, for you to throw that together in just a few months time period, after I know you were talking about doing it for a while, but once you jumped in on it, it just all kind of came together. And sometimes
there's no old songs on that. All those songs were written, like I said, with the exception of Spirits Rising from the Lake and Doesn't Feel Like California. Most of them were written in a very short time period. And that was the other thing. It felt good. It felt, I'm not saying the songs were great, but it felt inspired at least. Sure. and kind of exciting. And so that's one of the reasons it got made. Yeah. And I was just saying, once I arranged those demos for that album in a playlist, it felt a little bit mysterious. And that's part of what encouraged me to finish the project. And again, it was recorded quickly, which made it possible. It was 2 Sundays a month from, like June through October, essentially. And then Greg did a lot of mixing and some overdubs.
Well, I can't recommend it enough. It really is an excellent album.
That's so sweet of you. Thank you.
Oh, come on, dude.
I'm honored.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm brutally honest to the point where it's cost me friends before. So I can promise you this. I might say it in a nice way, but if I thought it sucked, you would know it.
I don't doubt that.
No. I would be like, yeah, Zach, it's got potential.
Now I'm really hesitant to play you like my next batch of songs for the follow-up. I might hold off on that until they're really polished and the album's ready. So
let me hear them when you're comfortable. I mean, seriously, when you're comfortable with that, I'd love to hear it, man. Because and dude, I mean, you've gotten a lot of traction with that album, dude. I mean, it's you've had some great reviews that some of these publishers and folks have done, and I've checked them out and I've read them. I mean, and they were all spot on, man. You know, that sometimes, you know, you find that album or those songs that move a group of people, and that album is clearly doing that for some folks. You know, when I got mine in the mail, I was just thrilled to listen to it, you know, because I liked the Lady Bird song that you had put on Facebook, you know, so to listen to the rest of it was just you know, it was a great experience, definitely.
Wow.
But
thanks. Well, and I wanted it, you know, use the term experience. I don't know that I accomplished this, but we're cut from the same cloth in the same generation. I wanted it to flow like an album experience. One song is not enough for me. I need an album. I want 45 minutes from that artist.
Totally agree. You know, everybody says, you know, well, today it's about singles. Okay, yeah, I get it, but that just because that's what they say it's about doesn't mean that's what I got to do. You know,
it's like, and I love a good single, but it's never satisfying enough for me. I want the full artistic statement.
See, I get it. See, to me, that I'm that guy. I want the wall. Okay, I want Abbey Road. I want stuff. I want the hardcore experience. You know, you better give me, you know, Van Halen 1 and 2. Which, speaking of that, I've got a band that's going to be playing pretty soon, and the first song we're going to try to tackle is "Light Up the Sky."
Nice.
Oh man, yeah, you'll hear how nice it is if we don't train wreck the shit out of it. like literally.
Here's gonna try YYZ or something like that next, right?
You know, a friend of mine let me hear some old footage of him back in. You know, I say old. I don't feel like the 90s was that old, but it was early 90s and 80s and stuff like that. But, you know, video technology is clearly not what it is today. But he let me hear this band that he was in doing a cover of La Villa Strangiato.
Nice.
Rush. And I was like, wow, where'd you do that at? He's like, oh, we were playing that in clubs. I'm like, I would never be able to cover La Villa Strangiato in a club today and keep a crowd captivated. I mean, they would look at me like...
If you do that, that will be the greatest viral video I've ever seen in my life. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't personally do it because there's no damn lyrics in it. So, I mean, it's like, what am I going to do in it? Just stand off to the side? You know.
Like 2112, an acoustic version of 2112. Mandolin lutes or something, you know, that could be ambitious.
Man,
saying acoustic versions.
I tell you what, man, you know, some folks either you love Rush or you hate Rush. I don't know, you know, where some folks are coming from on that, but personally, you know, I just fell in love with Rush, and usually I hear people talking about Geddy's voice. You know, it either hits them or it doesn't. And the thing is, like, if you listen to him, that dude is hitting the notes spot on. Now, you know, he sings in a certain kind of way where it's almost, I don't know what nasally in some types of ways, but he's hitting the notes, and some of those notes he's full voicing them. They're not easy.
He's full voice, yeah.
I would love to see someone effortlessly, you know, in a cover band in a local scene pull off Fly By Night.
Oh, Thomas, I've had this argument about Bono since I was 14 years old. Pride in the Name of Love is a high B. And he's belting it in a full voice, probably with no warm up. It's like there's some powerhouse singers out there. That is not easy to do.
I did Pride in the Name of Love once, and I stress once. I never attempted it again.
Did you do it in B or A? Because sometimes people try.
I did it in B, and I genuinely feel like I damaged my voice after that.
So you could pull a muscle on that. That's serious.
Muscle, like, dude. I felt like I lost a testicle in the middle of that. I mean, it was awful, you know. And that was when I learned, and this was really early on. I mean, I was as green as grass when I tried to do that song, but that was when I learned: know your limitations, and don't try to do you got no business doing. Period.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And some people might say, well, don't limit yourself. I'm not limiting myself. I'm being realistic. I'm not Brad Delp from Boston.
Yeah.
I have a good range, and I was classically trained as a first tenor, but
Yeah.
there's some things I'm not going to attempt to do. I mean, I'm not going to go out there and try to sing "Smokin'" by Boston. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, or "Jane" by Jefferson Starship. You know, and or was that Jefferson Airplane? Was it? Who did? Was it?
It's funny. I don't know any of their discographies. I know Little Jefferson Airplane, of course, but all those iterations, I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
Of that band.
Well, Jane, I'll tell you what, man, go listen to that one and listen to how those notes were Mickey
Yeah.
singing and hitting that stuff. That's the same guy who sang the version of "Fooled Around and Fell in Love," Elvin Bishop. You know,
Yeah.
that was the biggest hit. You know, and Mickey has just an incredible voice. But anyway, Zach, it was great talking music with you, dude. Again, it was awesome having you as a guest on the podcast.
I gotta tell you, Thomas, like the amount of hustle that it took to pull that off. I am a little jealous of you that you were able to. Envy's not the right word. It's like that was grade A hardcore hustle. That was Olympic style hustling. I am blown away, and a lot of people needed that tonight, me included.
Well,
I miss those people. That was a great community of people, and a group of humor aside, some true gentlemen there.
Oh, dude, all of them are gentlemen. Absolutely, no doubt. But see, again, I don't mind that kind of humor. I think it's hilarious. But seriously, I mean, just. One day when I can't play music anymore, just help me find a job. That's all I ask. Okay. One day the music industry is gonna kick me to the curb. We'll just have to see.
I'll do my best, but I'd say maybe consider a career as a writer or something.
Yeah,
I'll buy your first. I'll buy your first novel.
There you
I'll
go,
be the
bro.
first person in line.
Oh man, dude. People have asked me all the time. Like I had a local music store one time. They asked me, if I'd come work on the sales floor. I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work out. They were like, hey, why not? I said, you guys would fire me in 2 weeks. I mean, there's no way. Now, granted,
You'd be good though. You'd be good.
Well, here's the thing. Like it depends on the level of the job. When I almost took the job from Gator Cases, of course I would have been working on a very utmost professional kind of level. But, working in a local music store and dealing with, certain stuff like that, I wouldn't have taken it as seriously. And all it would take is somebody asking me a stupid question. I mean, that would just be I'd be like, really, dude, are you serious? This is where we're going with this? I mean, oh my God. And then I'd have to go turn it over to somebody else. But anyway, Zach, I appreciate you very much. It's been a great pleasure having you on the podcast. I'll update you really soon about when that episode's going to be released. And, but before we leave, tell all the listeners at home where they can find your new release, The Wine of Youth, and, tell them, give us some details about all that.
Well, thank you for that, Tom. So you can find it on Spotify. You can find it, it's being sold. I would say where all great independent music's being sold, but as of right now, I think Amazon's the only one selling the CD. You can get it directly from me. Go to my website, zachphillips.com. Drop me a line in there. Happy to get you a copy. And it's of course Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music. List goes on. If you want the,
Awesome.
if you want to be a young whippersnapper and just stream it, not enjoy the cool cover art.
Dude, I actually have people who will buy CDs and not even open the CD. They'll just buy it just because they want the product to hold, and they'll get the autograph and everything on the CD cover. They'll open it for that, and then they'll go home and download it and stream it, but
Yeah,
they just want the product, which,
I still buy. I'm not a big fan of vinyl. Vinyl to me does not have that luster that everybody else hears. I like the clean digital version as the artist intended. But I have 2 copies of Jeff Tweedy's album because I am so blown away. This cover is like just one of those beautiful, desolate, mysterious album covers. It's a work of art. So I'm with you.
For sure, man, for sure. Well, brother, hopefully very soon I'll be we'll be having some dinner at Summer NAMM, and we'll go out and have a good time again. And like we said earlier in the group chat. You know, I think everybody needs to see their friends. Everybody needs to get back together. This is you know what is going. It's inevitable in my opinion. It's going to happen. People want to see each other. So hopefully nothing gets in the way of that, and we're all rocking and rolling at Summer NAMM this year.
Yep. We're guns blazing right now. We've
awesome,
got to make it happen.
Well, that genuinely made me happy when Joe said that. So, anyways, brother, I appreciate everything about you, man, and we will talk very soon.
You too, Thomas.
Right? Thank you very much.
You too, my friend.
Brother. Have a good one.
Take care.